What is happening, fellow fantasy fans? I am JJ Wang. He is the bearded one, DJ Dove. And with our powers combined, we are the Fantasy Couriers.
What is up, JJ Wang? It is week 5. We are ready to roll. How you feeling, my friend?
I was, I almost forgot to say the intro there. As I was saying the intro, I completely blanked and almost completely skipped starting to talk. But yeah, I'm feeling it's not a great way to start the show, but I'm here. I'm looking forward to week 5. It is already. Wow, go
Yeah,
back
we
quick.
we we're having one of those weeks. Hopefully, the teams are a little better than us. You all should have a pretty good show from this point on. This is a second attempt to record the podcast. We did a really good job. Got halfway through, and it turns out you got to push the record button for the second week in the row. So next week, you probably won't get a well rehearsed one, but we will get there. We will get it out to you, and hopefully, you enjoy where we're at. But while we're going here, let's just see if we can get some ways to communicate with you. Hit us up on Instagram, Twitter, our Facebook page. I pushed a button this week and got a lot of people I know to join us. If you're a friend of ours that joined through Facebook, share us out. I know some of my friends that joined to listen. They're like, I don't understand what you're talking about. I said, yeah, but you'll help me learn some stuff about the NFL, learn stuff about fantasy. It's a different way to look at the league. For me, I think it's made the last 10 years more bearable as a Dolphins fan. So if you're on Facebook and you are one of our friends, thanks for joining us. Share us with somebody you know who might play fantasy football. They might get a nugget. That's our goal. Our goal is to give you nuggets, give you something outside of what conventional wisdom will say, play Christian McCaffrey, play Dalvin Cook. What else is there out there? And that's what a lot of people need to hear if they want to win or get anywhere. Leave us some messages. We'd love to answer your questions. The Fantasy Couriers at gmail.com. Hit us up on the fantasycouriers.wixsite.com/website. All of that information is in the notes below your podcast or YouTube. So subscribe, share, get us out there. Our goal is still 50 subscribers. We're still trying to figure out mystery number 44 disappeared. So we're down to 43. What did you say last week?
I don't know. I apologize. I'd like to have him back, but honestly, I would like to know why he left. I don't know if he's like I should just like throw us a message, be like, hey man, this is why we left. I just want to know. It's nothing.
They're going to say we are fans of the Washington football team, and you keep calling them the Redskins, and we're just sick of it.
I'm sorry.
Sorry, everybody. We're sorry. We'll
I'm
get
sorry.
there. We'll get there when they have a real name next year, and we'll be like, go Red Wolves. Yeah, Red Tails.
I
Let's
hope they
do it.
keep the Washington football team, man. I
I,
like
I
them.
was wishing for it. There was a point I wanted them to be called the Generals just to go with the old Harlem Globetrotters joke because they were pretty bad. But also, if you want to hit us up and have some fun with us, join us for a DraftKings contest. There's an Instagram post with a link on it. That we've put links out in various forms over our sites. If you can't find it, hit me up at thefantasycouriers.gmail.com and I'll send you a direct invite. We'll see this week if your brother-in-law can win again. Philly fan is rocking us through.
Yeah, I mean, good for him. I'm sure he's in his living room just dancing away when he finds out he wins. I can just see it.
He told me he's excited. He's like, I've never been good at daily. I said, neither have I. It's always been one of those frustrating things that you think you have a great team and then smack, somebody gets Terry McLaurin on their team and scores a gajillion touchdowns. And you just got to go against him. There's strategy to it. The people that do it professionally, you got to put a lot in and be willing to lose a lot in order for those guys that do it. So that's why we only do dollar contests because we're not degenerate
Professionals.
gamblers. If you are, we support you. And we'll try
Okay.
to give you some tips to help you make some of that money, but make sure to take care of your family. Okay, so moving into Thursday night, there goes 42. Thursday night game was, it wasn't as good as advertised. I don't think it wasn't a horrible game. I think Thursday night games as a whole this year have been better, but I almost liked the game last week better.
Yeah, I think I did too. Probably a little more excitement, something to look forward. But like I said, this game was okay. I mean, it was a good football game for Thursday night. We all Thursday night has that reputation of being some crappy games, but like I said, Seattle, LA, what more could you ask for? Two good teams. Did have a Bobby Tree sighting.
Oh,
Robert
yeah.
Woods decided to show up for the first time.
Hmm.
Glad to see that. We were both high on that guy. Does this change the way you feel about him at all in any way?
It makes me feel better. I had a team where I had Robert Woods, and I've been crushed. I'm like, man, Matt Stafford is keying in only on Cooper Cup, and then on the second read he throws to Cooper Cup, and on the third read it's like Robert Woods doesn't exist. I literally benched Woods last week in on instead of Chuba Hubbard in my flex spot. And last night I'm sitting there going, the Rams have been talking all week. We're gonna get Woods the ball. We're gonna get Woods the ball. And daggone, if they didn't follow through, how often does that happen in the league? So I threw him in right before the game. I got my 12 catches, 150 yards, and that looks much better than even if Chuba plays this week. I don't think he's going to score me 28 points. So I'll take that any day, and I'll still start Terry McLaurin, and my other receiver is some stud as well. Like I got really good receivers.
Yeah, so hopefully this isn't what Robert Woods turns into.
Oh,
That one great game every 3 or 4, and then the other 3 games, he kind of lacks, kind of like Tyler Lockett has been in the past. So we'll have those 3 or 4 good games, but the rest of them you really can't rely on them, and you really don't want to start him every week, but you really got to because there's a 30-point game coming somewhere.
well,
But
speaking of Tyler Lockett,
yeah, speaking of Tyler Lockett, um, happened to see Russell Wilson's finger go sideways.
ugh.
I mean, I would be rolling around on the ground if my finger was sideways like that. But he was over there on the sideline, trying to do some exercises, trying to get his finger working, see if he can come back in the game. But evidently, he's going to be out 6 to 8 weeks. What does this do for Seattle?
Well, number one, it means your quarterback is Geno Smith. He's a seasoned veteran. Uh, uh, Came in with Tavon Austin. It's been that long. Throw that one out. And I think Tavon's still in the league. I heard his name the other week. But I think I told you before the show, I think Seattle's done. I mean, you go through Russell Wilson is the heart of this team. I really think their success hinges around him because he's had some years where he's been stellar as a quarterback. Other years he hasn't had to be. He's been steady. You've had Skittles, Marshawn Lynch there running the ball, running his brains out, and he's not had to run a lot, but it's going to have different effects. I'm not as high as you are on Geno Smith. I think, I'm at a -3.
Way up there.
You're at a 0, so we're both not very high. But we were talking before, and you're like Gino could carry it. I was like 6 to 8 weeks. I'm not so sure, but I think they're tanked because you're looking. Not only is Russ down, but Carson's down too with the neck thing, and that's not something you fool around with. Necks could lead to not walking and paralysis, and that means you're going to roll
I mean,
with.
I'm no doctor, but I'm pretty sure you're right.
That's going to be our next podcast. Is going to be medical advice from people that know nothing about science, starring JJ Wang and DJ Dub. But I started Alex Collins last night because they're going to run the ball. I needed him in a spot where I don't score a lot of points there. He got me 9.2. I'll take that any day of the week off a second running back, but that's not what you want going on.
Yeah, not at all. Like I'm not really, like you said, I'm a 0 on Geno Smith, but I gotta root for Geno Smith because I got a lot of DK Metcalf. So I need Metcalf to play really well. The only way DK Metcalf plays really well is if his best friend is Geno Smith. And if I was Geno Smith, my best friend would be DK Metcalf. I would throw it to him every time, I drop back because DK is awesome. He had another 2 touchdowns last night. Probably by the end of the week goes, he'll jump into that top 10 receivers. Hopefully, he can get up there into number 5. But it's gonna be like you said, it's gonna be hard to do that with Geno Smith. But hopefully, they don't have a lot of people to throw it to. They don't have a lot of options. It's just DK and Tyler Lockett. And I think DK is more of Geno Smith type of guy. So we'll see how it works. Hopefully, it goes well.
I mean, you've convinced me. We were talking before the show, and I was like, man, DK is doomed. But you're like, dude, he got it to him, and it makes sense. Russell's more of an accuracy passer, so he can hit anybody he wants, can spread it. Gino doesn't have the experience. I mean, he's been around for the years, but he's never. I mean, he got clobbered when he was in New York Jets. I mean, he's a Jets quarterback. It just ruins your career. We'll ask Zach Wilson in 2 years, but he got clobbered there, but he looked good. But he also was smart. He's going to throw to the big guy. You don't have to throw as good to the big guy. You throw it up, DK can get it. You lay it in, DK can stretch a little bit farther. He's got the bigger wingspan, whereas Tyler, you got to be more precise to hit Tyler Lockett. He's a speed guy. He's going to get the outs. You got to get his spots right when he turns, right when he's moving, like that amazing Cooper Cup catch last night. Oh my goodness. He wasn't even looking and it landed in his lap. But that's another story. But yeah, I think you're right. DK is gonna benefit until defenses start going, wait, Gino only throws to DK. How about we put four guys on DK? Hey, lock it there. Let's see. Hit him. Come on, Gino. See if you can throw a 50-yard bomb and hit him going down the field. It's all you. Go for it. And that's when Lockett will now, right as you thought this year, like I was watching the game last night going, oh my goodness, I've got to go back and say I was wrong about Tyler Lockett being up and down. Like that was one of my preseason things. He's been a steady ride this year for the most part. He's not giving you that 2 point week versus the 75, 50, what did he get 40 point week last year and then a 2 point week and then 2 point week, then 2 point, then like a 30, he's been more consistent, which teams want, but rest in peace.
Yeah, I mean it's going to be a long season for Seattle. I mean, obviously they'll probably end up being the worst team in that in division. But
And I think
let's
they
jump.
were before. I think they were before though, but it's a good like if you play in the West in either division, your teams are pretty stinking good. But yeah, enough of Thursday night. Are you ready for week 5? Are you ready for Sunday football?
I'm ready for Sunday football. It's actually get that early game. That early game on Sunday, I get to wake up at. Well, I'll be. I mean, I'll be awake super early anyway, but I don't have to wait. 6 or 7 hours for a game on Sunday. You get that. I think the first one starts at 9:30. I think.
Yep,
So
London 9:30.
I'm pretty
Two
excited about.
amazing, stellar NFL programs will be showing off their talent.
But yeah, so I think was it Atlanta is going to be over there against the Jets. I'll let you
Oh
speak
yeah,
on Atlanta because you seem to have the most interest in Atlanta right here.
I do. I got a tidbit to throw in at the end, but it's Atlanta's hurting. They're not going to have their top two wide receivers. Gage is out again. He's been out for a couple of weeks. And Ridley this week did not even travel with the team. He's out. They say personal issues. Pro Football Focus has it listed as rest. Oh my gosh, he played four whole
Tired.
games and didn't play great. He's exhausted. I
He's
get
tired
tired
of
of
being the
asking
number one
crazy.
wide receiver, man.
I know, man. He's number one wide receiver. I think I'm going to be wrong. I'm still looking good on that Brady thing. Like he sunk a little bit
Yeah,
last week, but he's looking
there's
pretty
still
good
a
for me.
chance.
He won't make it. But it's what it might mean is the man that I just traded for last night. Everybody's younger than me, so I feel like they're all boys. We're getting old. The man that I traded for last night that you've been on, I'm not on it full fledged, but I jumped on the Kyle Pitts train a little bit with a trade last night to strengthen one of my dynasty teams. Could this be a coming out party for Pitts versus the Jets, or is it just going to be the Patterson show?
I mean, well, honestly, I hope it's the Patterson show. That's really what I'm hoping for. But I mean, if Cal Pitts was going to show up, I mean, it would have to be against the Jets, right? I mean, they're not a great team. They don't have really any options to throw to. So it's just going to be Kyle Pitts and Cordero Patterson. And like I said, I'm not really keying in on watching Atlanta play a lot. So I really haven't seen, you
It
know,
looks pretty
if,
bad.
if Pitts has been out there and been open. But I mean, you got to give him a shot this week. If you're missing these guys, my, I mean, I had a coworker at work today came up to me and asked if Atlanta can beat the Jets, and I was like, "Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, I mean, I think Atlanta." Then I started to think about it. I was like, "Wait a minute. You know what?
They're terrible.
I think the Jets could actually beat Atlanta. So yeah, I would pick the Jets in this game if I was going to pick a team. I think Atlanta's just really bad right now.
Philosophically speaking, I think the Jets are the worst team in the NFL. And if I think the Jets could beat Atlanta, would that make Atlanta the worst team? No.
Oh, Detroit's pretty bad too.
Nah, Detroit shows a little more, I think, than the Jets. The Jets look putrid, man.
Jets did win a game at least.
Atlanta has Matt Ryan, and that makes a bigger difference to me. Like I mean, realistically, I think that Atlanta's probably going to double tight end. So if you do have Hayden Hurst and you want to get sneaky, sneak in Hayden Hurst because I could see them if you got a block, he'd be the blocker, but doing two tight ends, old school Patriot style. And I think they're gonna do that anyway this year. I thought that before, and I've heard a lot of people agreeing that Hayden Hurst could have a great year, and he's got some good looks this year, but it could be weak that he has the points as well as probably Patterson and Pitts will have a pretty decent week as well versus the Jets. So can they beat the Jets? I think so, because I still think the Jets are pretty putrid.
So we're gonna switch to one of my favorite players, one of the young rookie quarterbacks coming in. Trey Lance is going to be starting this week. Jimmy Garoppolo going down in the first half. In last week's game, Trey Lance coming in, playing pretty well. They're throwing the 2 touchdowns to Debo, looking good, having the rushing yards. So they decided to give him the start this week. And this probably means the end of Jimmy Garoppolo. You would think, right?
Hmm. I don't want to think that, but I think it's the, let me phrase it. Yes, it's the end of Jimmy Garoppolo in San Francisco. I believe that firmly. I've traded for him in a couple of leagues, but I believe that Jimmy Garoppolo is going to play again in the NFL. I just think his San Francisco days are numbered. But I think they're saying no, but for the same reason Chicago says no, because they want to be able to, without a problem, go back and say, hey, yeah, we need to give the rookie some more learning time. They want to have that fallback, but I think once you start the rookie, you can't pull the rookie in today's NFL. You're 100% right. I mean, he looked great in there fantasy wise. Apparently, real life football, he was missing a bunch of things that kind of like it's the Jalen Hurts argument, right? I'm sitting there, I'm all sized for Jalen Hurts because he's doing great, but apparently in real life football, there's people that are a little worried about Jalen Hurts as a real life football quarterback. I mean, Trey Lance has played one game and now 1.5 games in the last year and a half, 2 years. So I'm excited because I got some Trey Lance shares, or I got a share of Trey Lance. I'm hoping that he decides that instead of throwing to wide receiver, he does that thing that rookies are supposed to do, which is throw to tight ends, because I got a lot of George Kittle and he looks like puke. But I would say temper expectations. I am starting Trey Lance this week because I have Jimmy Garoppolo and Tua Tagovailoa in a 2 quarterback league, so I had to pair somebody with Pat Mahomes. So it's a real struggle I got there, pair with Pat Mahomes. But yeah, if he's there, he was on a waiver wire, but it was a limited player waiver wire, so he was going to be there. If you got him, I wouldn't roll him out as a QB1. I'd watch him excitedly, see how he looks, and in a few weeks roll him out. I mean, there's 12 other quarterbacks I would rather play than Trey Lance. There's no other quarterbacks I'd rather watch than Trey Lance, but 12 other quarterbacks I'd rather play than Trey Lance. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. Like I said, you got to temper your expectations a little bit. I mean, but like I said, I'm starting Justin Fields and Trey Lance in the Bourbon Bowl, and I'm going to be happy to do it. I'm very excited because for my future starting that league. So we're gonna switch it. We're gonna switch over here to your guy, AJ
Oh,
Brown. Then it's going to be coming back this week. There's not going to be a Julio, but AJ Brown is back. Are you confident in starting AJ Brown?
I'm never confident in starting AJ Brown. I have AJ Brown. There's those guys. I think I've mentioned this before. There are guys that everybody tells you is good. And you're kind of like, eh, I'm not a super fan of these guys. So I had a friend convince me to bid on AJ Brown in one of my dynasty leagues, and I bid too much, more than I wanted to, because he's like, dude, he's gonna be the man. It's like, okay, I respect your advice, chasing sunshine. Thanks a lot. And then I traded him away in one league, and then just traded back for him in a Dalvin Cook trade. So I've got shares of AJ Brown. I know that AJ Brown is a talented football player. I know that he's a big guy, but I also know Derrick Henry's going to run 74 times. But you have to be confident in AJ Brown this week, I believe, because they're going to throw to AJ Brown or Derrick Henry, and either of those I am totally fine with.
Yeah, like I say, it's hard. It's hard to be confident. Like even his first 2 games, he's 49 yards in the first one and 43 in the second one. Not really the start that you were hoping for, but like I said, some of these receivers just happen to get off to slow start sometimes. But I mean, it was a hamstring, so that's gonna make you worry, right? It could just
Always.
you just tweak it at any time. He's that big play guy. AJ Brown's not that volume receiver. He's that 76-yard touchdown guy. I mean, that's really what you hope for a lot. But like I said, I mean, I'll be starting him, of course. I mean, if he's going
Mhm.
to be on the field, I'm starting him. But I'm not really confident. But since we're here with this kind of injury thing going on, we're gonna switch over here to these tight end injuries that we have going on here.
Mm.
the biggest one with Kittle, I think, is being doubtful. He might not play. I know you're a big Kittle guy. I know you're a big tight end guy. You want to run us through these?
I am the tight. I love tight ends. All do I love tight ends. They are my favorite player. I have a team literally based on tight ends and a tight end premium with where I get to start Mark Andrews, Darren Waller, George Kittle, and Mike Gesicki every single week, and it makes me happier than life itself. I like to grab them. I have a team where I have Kittle and Gronk as my tight ends. Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Luckily, that was the team where I just got Pitts. So it looks like I'm starting Pitts on a good week to start Pitts. Kittle was doubtful. He was doubtful last week too, I believe. He might have been high questionable. I'm not sure, but I believe he was doubtful last year and he still his last week and he still played. So I'm not 100% sure where he's going to land. I'm leaning towards that he's out and I got Pitts in for him in that league. I got two other leagues where I have Kittle, so I don't even know what I'm going to do. I'm freaking out a little bit. Logan Thomas is out. Luckily, I don't have any shares of him. I traded him away, but I know he's a lot of people have a lot of eggs in that basket. And Gronk, who people were excited to get because you were streaming tight ends, they're like, "Hey, I got Gronk early. He's going to be decent for me." He's with those ribs. He's going to be out for a while. So you're missing three top guys right here. Who do you fill in with? I know we have a league mate in one league who literally has Thomas and Gronk as his starting tight ends, and he's got no tight ends, and there's nothing on the waiver wire.
Yeah, like I said, I think we discussed this a little bit last. My guy was Dalton Schultz. If he's probably not available now. I mean, he's
Yeah,
probably already been picked up. And Max Williams, like I said, this tight ends are tough, man. If you don't, like you're just going out there and just picking some random guys. I know Tyler Conklin was an option, right?
yeah.
Um,
Ricky Seals
but
Jones, would you pick him up if you had to?
I I mean, like I said, if I don't have a choice, I mean, he's the starter, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Uh,
a starting tight end is as good as any tight end at this point when you're down there at that range. So yeah, I mean, he's worth a pickup if
Let's say
you're.
Ricky Seals Jones. Look for, if you need a dart throw it at one of the tight ends in Tampa. I still don't think they're worth dilly poo. You got the San Francisco backup.
Oh, Dwelly.
Dwelly, thank you. Dwelly could be in there. He had decent games last year. I had him off a couple waivers because I needed some spot starts. But I would go with someone I mentioned earlier. I would look in your league, see who has Hayden Hurst. They're not going to be high on him. Some guys, when they have the big names out, are going to try to get a big name to fill a big name. But if you could sneak a Hayden Hurst, throw somebody a wide receiver through, they're like Hayden Hurst. He's on here. He's got like a touchdown. Okay, cool. Give me, some wide receiver three that doesn't matter or that you could replace easily. That would be a name that I would keep my eye out for this week if I need someone. If Max Williams is going, I like Max Williams where he could be as well. And if Gerald Everett didn't have COVID, he'd be on the list as well because he seems to be on some waiver wire surprisingly as well, or Disley next week maybe.
Yeah, I hate tight ends, man. I'm not.
There's something wrong with you, man. There's something wrong with you. So as we look into this week, we got a couple starts or tips of the week. I just got one tip. I was struggling with what I wanted to share with you all this week, but keep the faith. It's week 5. There's people that have given up. We were looking in a league where there's a team that is 0-4, and this team, it's your sister, actually has more points scored against her than everybody in the league. I think by like about 75 points, and she has like the top score, one of the top, I think,
Yeah,
5 or 6 scoring teams in the league with, I mean, Mahomes and Lamar are quarterbacks. So it's keep the faith. You can dig out of a hole. It isn't too late. In that league, I have started 0-4, I think, every single year, or 1-3, something ridiculous, and made the playoffs every year, some weird way, except one maybe. I forget how it's panned out, but don't give up yet. They're still there. Last week, my daughter played fantasy football this year, and she obliterated my team. Like I'm talking almost doubled my score just through just because I needed to be put back on my place, I guess. She's doing great, rocking it. They're enjoying it, getting a victory over dad in the first year. I mean, my team with Dalvin Cook, AJ Brown, it's a pretty stout team, but I can't score any points. I don't even know what to do. But yeah, keep the faith. It's not too late. You still have many weeks. As I say on my Instagram post, I'll post for us is if you're not trading, you're not playing waiver wires, you're not trying. And at 0-4, you better be trading or trying to do something.
yeah. At 0-4, at some point, you gotta start. You gotta start thinking about making a move. I
Yeah.
mean, like I said, if you're scoring points, if you're scoring points and losing, then you've got a chance. But if you're not scoring, if you got like the fewest amount of points scored and you're not, then you could probably be like, well, this season's going to suck. But
Yeah.
as long as you're scoring points, and sometimes you just hit that buzzsaw of hitting these top teams when when they go across their best weeks, and it's just unfortunate. Like I said, you just gotta keep 0-4. You can still make the playoffs at 0-4. All you gotta do is
Yeah.
get in the.
Well, commissioner's note too for commissioners to think about. We're in a league where the sixth seed is not the best team; it's the highest scoring team of the remaining teams. But that helps to counterbalance some of that. That's how I got into one last year. I think I was like right, but and I forget how it worked out. But I would have been the sixth scoring guy, just balanced in. But that would be something for if you're a commissioner to consider, so that team that's scoring a ton of points and just having bad luck. I mean, NFL doesn't do it. I mean, well, I guess they let the Washington football team in last year. They didn't deserve it. So tell us you got two good tips of the week. I think I agree with one and the other one. I'm so confused. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, so I'm gonna run through a couple guys here. We don't talk about them a lot, so I thought I'd give them a little bit of run. So first, I know it's Detroit and they're not good, but they do got some fantasy relevancy here in this in the backfield that they have with DeAndre Swift being that young guy, Jamal Williams being that older guy that seems to be that vulture type guy that we hate. So DeAndre Swift in a PPR format is running back 7. Jamal Williams is running back 19. Neither one of them run all that well. Uh, most of their points are, I mean, most of their points are coming from the receiving game. Um, do you trust this backfield at any point?
I have to. I have zero Swift. I've tried to get some Swift and I can't get a hold of them. But I have a league where due to depth and size, like we start, I think 12 people, and there's 12 people in the league. So we got to start people down the line. So I picked up Jamal Williams for peanuts and I started him knowing that it was going to be a committee backfield this year. And I've gotten exactly what I've needed out of him. So it really depends upon what you need. If you have DeAndre Swift, you were expecting low end running back 1, high end running back 2, and you are disappointed because it's not consistent. Like last week, I think what did he have? 6 carries or something. It was something silly.
Yeah, 60. It wasn't like
It was
it
silly of him
wasn't
to
good.
have for someone who's supposed to be this amazing talent, and but he buried you because of his. I'm sorry, 8 carries.
Okay.
So I mean, he's had those 2 big games and other okay games, and that's not what you're expecting out of your. I mean, he is running back 7, but it just doesn't feel like it. It's that Tyler Lockett kind of syndrome.
Yeah, I
And
mean, you got Dan Campbell running around out here saying, we're going to get DeAndre Swift the ball more, and then he gets 8 carries, and now all of a sudden they're going to switch over to the whoever has the hot hand. I think they both are questionable as far as injury goes. But I think they're both going to play. Said this like I mean, Swift. You got Swift. You probably don't have any better options than Swift, at least as an RB2. So you're probably going to start him. But I'm kind of scared to start him as my RB2. Like I just don't know what I'm going to get. I don't know if I'm going
yep,
to get 3 points, or I don't know if I'm going to get 20 to 24. I mean, yeah, I think either one is an option because I think he had 16 rushing yards last week.
yep,
16
yep,
rushing yards really isn't going to get it done. But like I said, I mean, you could probably get away with Jamal Williams. You didn't pay much for him,
yeah,
but that Swift side is really going to hurt you.
yeah.
Let's
He's a
jump
super
over here
flex.
to another guy that's been ridiculed. Has ups and downs in his career. He's currently quarterback number 8, and that's Daniel Jones. Playing pretty well. He does have some quite a few rushing yards this year. With some touchdowns. I think he only has one fumble so far in the first 4 games. I think usually by this time of year he has like 17. So I mean, he's doing better in that part. Is I think he just came off on a 402-yard passing game. Going to be going against the Cowboys, whose defense is better than I thought. Would you trust Daniel Jones as a QB1 this week?
Ooh, I didn't think that was going to be the question. Would
I
you
didn't
trust?
either. It just That's just what came out. I don't.
Would you trust him as a QB1 at this rate? Don't you have to?
I mean,
I mean, if it depends what's your situation. As with any of this, it really is a situation. If I would not have figured him to throw up 402 yards against the Saints because I knew they're bad, but not horrible. But other than that, he's not eclipsed 267. So he's not been a 300-yard passer. He's been consistent. He's not getting you the touchdowns. Probably not a QB1, but he's getting there. He would probably fall if we did weekly rankings. He probably would fall in that 15-ish spot. So right outside the QB1, you're definitely like, there's no doubt that you are very confident starting him in a super flex 2 QB without even thought, without even thinking about it. You're throwing him in there just because he's got, like Darnold is running those touchdowns in. He can do that as well. We had to get our Darnold mentioned
yeah,
every
had
week.
to get our Darnold in the show. I'm glad it was you that brought him up.
But that little bit of rushing you might get because he's not throwing a ton, and his top 2 receivers are out again. So it's going to have to be Kenny Galladay. And is Evan Ingram still playing football? Who knows? So that means Saquon's probably going to have another decent week. Oh baby! But yeah, Danny Dimes is getting there. I think if he's doing nothing else, what he's doing is he's keeping his job, which was a fear going into this season. New York media is going to crush him. He could throw for 400 yards every week, but they're going to stink. So they're going to crush him and blame him, even when the problem is, the defense might give up 50 points or Saquon's been hurt for the last 3 weeks. So you didn't have that layer of protection for Daniel Jones, which is what any quarterback needs. If you have Saquon on there, that's why it's built that way. So, yeah, he's growing. He's getting there. He's higher than I thought. We berated somebody in one of our leagues for trading for him in a trade that still wasn't great, but he's looking better than we thought he would coming out of that trade.
Yeah, as long as he can get you those rushing yards here and there. I mean, like, he doesn't need a lot, but there's 30, 40 rushing. Those 30, 40 rushing yards makes a huge difference.
Yeah.
And
So
you can always throw in that bigger game of 50 or 60 and maybe a touchdown. So I think your 15 is right. With the upside of being, obviously he's QB8, so he has the upside of being that QB1. So I mean, good for him. I mean, I'll trust him. I mean,
he falls in. The name I was going to toss out was Taylor Heineke. I think he's a guy growing up. He probably falls. He'd probably be 16 right there behind Daniel Jones, another guy who is making teams think about the future differently. Like I think Washington with Fitzpatrick was thinking, hey, we're going to play this year and we're going to be looking for that quarterback of the future. Now they got Taylor Heineke and they're like, and they're watching their defense play. Maybe we're drafting defense next year because that was supposed to be really good. Like we were all on board thinking
I was excited. I thought
out deep and
I
maybe
don't.
what did they miss? I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah, I don't even like the Washington football team, but I was really excited about their defense this year. But
But I
man, boy,
guess
was that wrong.
a defensive line doesn't win games because that's really where their super strength is right up front there. So I don't know. But Taylor Heineke, I would roll him out as well. Like and I might roll him out slightly above Daniel Jones just because you haven't seen him screw up as much. So there's a little more confidence, and he's throwing 3 touchdowns to McLaurin, so maybe he'll keep doing that. And without Logan Thomas, it's gonna be some more. So I got some quick hits for you, and then I'll let you close us out of here, and we'll wish everybody a wonderful week 5. So here we go. We are looking at the Saints versus the Washington football team. Who do you think has more passing yards? Winston or
I'm
Heineke?
gonna go to the Washington football team. I think Heineke can get on throw for a lot of yards that game.
Okay, we're going down to the Buccaneers versus the Dolphins. Will Tom Brady throw for 4 or more or 4 or less touchdowns?
I think it'll be less.
Yeah, I think we talked before I was like, this is gonna be that game where I'm gonna watch excitingly and halftime it's gonna be close, but then because the offense is so putrid in Miami, the defense is just gonna fall over tired. In a battle of 3-1s for the week, who has more passing yards? Joe Burrow or Aaron Rodgers?
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm not a fan of Aaron Rodgers. I'm gonna go Joe Burrow just because I'm not a fan of Aaron
Here's a
Rodgers.
good one. We're still on the quarterback thing. More rushing touchdowns. Jalen Hurts or Sam Darnold?
Sam Darnold.
Oh, yeah. Will how many rushing attempts will Derrick Henry have this week?
Who's he playing?
The Jaguars.
Jaguar.
72.
You know what? I'm gonna go. 37.
Will Justin Fields get his second win this week versus the Raiders?
You know what? I like Justin Fields, so I'm going to say yes.
So
And
you're
he's going to get his
saying
first touchdown too.
it was going to be a follow-up. Was it going to be more fantasy points last week than this week? I mean, this
Yes.
week than last week. Sorry.
He'll finally get some touchdowns.
Okay. Is the Giants Cowboys game a trap for the Cowboys?
It could be. I mean, I'm not. I will say, yeah, I'm not a huge fan of the Cow. I think they're playing better than really what they are. So yeah, they better be careful.
And the game of the week, I love that NBC has the game of the week this week. This is amazing how this happened 2 weeks in a row, and hopefully it's better than that Buccaneers Patriots game. Bills at Chiefs. Who has more fantasy points to close out your last one of the week? I know who you like more, but who has more fantasy points? Josh Allen or Patrick Mahomes?
You know, I don't
In
like
Kansas
Patrick
City.
Mahomes really at all. I mean, don't get me wrong, he's a great player. I'm just not a huge fan. I do love me some Josh Allen. I'm gonna go Josh Allen. I can't.
Okay, then you're gonna Diggs or the Cheetah?
I'm gonna
Tyreek Hill or
I'm gonna
Diggs?
go Stephon Diggs. I think
Oh,
I'm going because Tyreek Hill had his big game last week. You know he probably doesn't do it 2 games in a row. You're probably missing for a game or two, and then he'll pop back up.
so you're putting the Bills at 4-1 and the Chiefs under 500 for the second time in 1 year.
You know
Impressive,
what?
impressive.
That is what I am doing.
You're a crazy man. I agree on Diggs. I disagree. I think Mahomes is just gonna. I think he's gonna be a man on a mission. So, guys, look forward to Week 5. JJ Wang, take us out of here.
Yeah, like I say, I mean, I'm trusting Josh Allen. You trust yourself and just trust the process.